Hello and welcome to Open House Virtual Edition AP Biology. My name is Amy Wilhoit and I'll be your child's AP Biology teacher this year at Memorial. AP Biology, for those of you who don't know, is a college-level biology course that if they score high enough on the placement exam at the end of the semester, can get a student up to 2 classes in biology, depending on the university. So we cover a lot of material. We do both micro, so the little chemical parts, the DNA parts, and we also do macro, so ecology and evolution. We get all the biology in this class, and it's fun and it's engaging and it's really informative. I really enjoy the class, and I hope that your child does too. You will find in this class that we do lots of hands-on activities. I tend to remember things better when I use my hands, but also studies show that students that actually do manipulate things in class, like even little things like pop beads or stuff like that, that's not even that exciting, they will remember that so much better. And I want them to remember the biology that we learn. It's good lifetime lessons. And so we do a lot of hands-on. We do labs. We do major labs that they're going to make mini lab posters that they can keep in a portfolio to demonstrate to universities the labs that they have done in the event that a university requires that for lab credit, which some do. And so we'll have multiple of those in a little portfolio. It's all digital portfolio that they'll be able to carry with them when they leave this class. At the end of the class, we have the AP test. And the AP test is really, I tell them, it's a placement test. It's simply a test to determine where you are in biology at that time. You certainly wouldn't want to be placed in a class that's over your head. You're paying a lot of money for that. And so it would be much better if you were placed appropriately. And so you have a test at the end of this class, and you can score a 1 through 5, and universities tend to start offering credit around a 3. Our state universities offer maximum credit pretty much at a 4, maybe a 5. But usually we get credits with 3s as well. So you can place out of Intro to Biology or Biology for Majors even at some of our universities. And I am always happy to help students figure out what the test will, what credits they can get to make sure it's worth it for them to take the test. And we'll start registering for the test mid-October. So that's after our first exam, when they can kind of get a picture of kind of what it's going to be like as far as the test, because I model my tests very much after the AP test. And so they'll have a pretty clear expectation of what it's going to be like to take 2 90-minute sections on a test. It's a long test and it's a hard test. And overall, we do very well. So if they really want to do well, if they want to pass the test, or if they just want to learn biology, they will. Really, I provide them everything they need to do that, and then it's just up to them what they want to do. We have a reading schedule that I hope they keep up with. I don't tell them very much. I tell them where to find it, and I tell them to write down the dates and check it often, and they keep up with it. And they're supposed to read probably 1 or 2 sections every 3 or 4 nights. So it's spread out so that they don't have too much at one time. So that's something that they should do if they want to do well in the class. They also have lots of videos. So last year during remote time, I recorded a lot of videos to dispense knowledge to students at home so that we could do activities in class. And so I link those in our Week at a Glance, and they're mainly in there for students who are quarantined or have surgeries or are just sick or for whatever reason aren't at school. And so there'll be a little link thing that says not here, do this in their Week at a Glance. So that's where you should send students if they're unable to attend school. Say, have you checked your biology Week at a Glance? Because that's going to tell them what they need to do for the day. Now, maybe you were at school, but you didn't understand exactly what's going on. Guess what? There's probably a link in there for people that weren't there, and you can rewatch or really get that content down to where you're comfortable. So there's a lot of things in the Week at a Glance to help you. Also, I'm available if their students need help, like they can come before school or after school during first lunch, I have first lunch or advisory, and just get a little bit of help if they just need some help. But overall, biology is pretty doable. There are some sticky spots, some hard spots, but for the most part, it's good content. And it's pretty easy for students to keep up as long as, like I said, as long as they're wanting to. So that's nice. Now, they may be a little shocked by their first test grade because I use the AP College Board equivalency, excuse me, which means that um, there's really no lower level questions. And so like that whole 0 to 60% failing thing, those type questions, those level of questions don't exist. And so it's all very challenging. And it's for a very good reason. It's because they have to differentiate like the fours from the fives. And so they have to figure out where you fall. And so the test has to be super challenging because they really need to know as a placement where you belong. And so my unit tests are that same way. And so at first they may get a test grade back and it's like a 62. What in the world? But the equivalency of that is like an 85. And so they get used to the equivalency. I tell them it's like a currency exchange, like you're changing your money from one money system to another. Same thing. You're changing your classroom points or your raw score into College Board points. And they get used to it pretty quickly. We do have quizzes, and we don't typically retake unless the whole class does poorly, and then I will reteach and we'll retake. But otherwise, they're expected to be ready for the quizzes. They're expected to be ready for the tests. I do have opportunities for them to drop a quiz, and that is if they don't use their late passes. So if they're very diligent in doing all of their work on time, they have late passes that they can use. And then at the end of the semester, if they haven't used them, those late passes, they can use them for drops. Now, if they need it, which is totally understandable, like, sometimes life just happens. So they need a late pass, then they can turn that into me. It's digital. They can turn that into me, and I will give them 5 more days from the time they turn in their late pass to turn it in for full credit. So it's a pretty good gig. But that means I don't just take random late work. Like, you have to turn your work in on time. And of course, I go by the school policy. If they are sick or if they're out for any reason, then they get how many days they missed plus the day back. But if they're out for a school activity, then the expectation is they check the week at a glance and they do the work and try to get it in on time. So that's kind of my expectations. Really, if there are in the syllabus, I have linked a few other things if you want to go through it, like what review book do I recommend if I recommend a review book and all that. You can find all of that in the syllabus, and what's exactly in the content, that's in the syllabus as well. I think it's pretty well covered in there, but if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And just before we finish up, just a little bit about myself so you kind of know who's teaching your kid. This is my 5th year at Memorial. And I've taught AP Biology and Freshman Honors, or AP right now, pre-AP. Right now we're calling it IA, Intro to Advanced. But I've taught that ever since I've been here. And then 9 years prior to that, for 9 years, I was at Bethany High School, where I taught all types of biology and earth science, and I was the department chair. And it was lovely time, but it was a long drive, so I moved back home to Edmond. And before that, I was at Guthrie High School, and I was at Santa Fe High School. So I've been teaching for a grand total. This is my 17th year. And I've just been enjoying myself at Memorial. It's a great time to be a Bulldog. Although it's not really a great time to be a student with all the COVID and quarantines and everything. But the students are delightful and they're doing well. And hopefully we can stay in school and not have to go remote. That would be ideal. But until this whole quarantine pandemic thing is over, we'll just make our way through it and we'll make the best of it that we can. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you in person. I hope that I get to meet you soon. And I hope that you'll have a great day and stay well. Thanks for coming.